Galatians 1 and Galatians 2. Paul starts right off the bat explaining his problem with the churches in Galatia. Namely, it seems that a doctrine regarding the salvation of works has infiltrated their populace. And he's saying, it's a salvation by faith. Get it in your thick head. Okay, he emphasizes this by explaining his role that he believes God has called him to. Namely, he is a minister or a missionary to the Gentiles, right? Which obviously aren't Jews. And of course, Jews are the chosen people of God. So there's this mentality among some Christians that Paul is addressing. Namely, that to be a Christian, you have to still follow the rules and traditions of the Jewish people. He's saying, nope. The old ways are gone. The new way is here. It's not by works. It is by, where are we? Galatians. It is by, in 2 verse 16, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Jesus Christ. Even we have believed in Jesus Christ, that we might be justified by the faith of Christ, and not by the works of the law. For the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. I messed it up, but still you get the point. Works of the law ain't the way to go. And in fact, he talks about a public situation in which he addressed Peter. Okay, he got Peter, the rock, Cephius, and Peter messed up. He isn't following what the gospel is teaching, or ought to be. He isn't teaching what the gospel is. How many ways are there to say it? And so Paul says he addressed him publicly in front of other Christians, and he said, "Listen, this isn't the way to do it." I keep using that word. Kids, don't use the word "ain't." And so, anyway, there's a couple things to take from these two passages. Number one, the big general theme: works, not how you get saved. You get saved through faith, right? Faith in Christ Jesus' work on the cross. But number two, an interesting point is the fact that he admonishes Peter publicly. So that's a principle. If you see people who are Christians and they're your friends and they're messing up or they're doing something you know isn't correct, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this is wrong. You're not being self-righteous. You're simply doing what you ought to as a fellow Christian. Okay? Another interesting thing, in the beginning, Paul talks about his journey and his calling to be a missionary to the Gentiles, and the fact that he used to be someone who persecuted Christians as a Jew. And he talks about how God worked through that in order to reveal, quote, his Son in me. And then down below he talks about how the people in Judea glorified God in me. This is an interesting point that I'm going to try to make coherent. God in you. In other words, he was working and doing what he was called to do, and God worked through him, and people could simply see that. I found that an interesting point. It wasn't. I guess it's like the works aren't the thing they see. They see past that to the motive, and to the blessing that God gave him. I will see you next week. God bless.